Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
We ask our listeners and viewers to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Live from Radio Cayman Studio.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
With Ort Connor.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is For the Record.
For the Record. 1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Ort Connor.
Buenos días, mi amigos, mi amigas. ¿Tú hablas español? No, sí, no. Somebody said one day we should do the show in Spanish. I said, well, maybe we could have Spain if we could do it there. It's an honor to sit in this seat and to fill in for Mr. Ort Connor as we invite you to be a part of For the Record. We remind people, as he always says, we are our brother's keeper, and that we celebrate together. So as part of the birthday shoutouts, as they say, brought to you by Coca-Cola, to Gary Smith, wishing you a happy birthday. And there are many who celebrate privately. Some do so in such a way that it's not with a fanfare, but those assembled recognize that it's with a grateful heart that they give thanks. Well, the first few minutes of this morning's show is going to be an open line as we invite you to call and share your thoughts. And then after the news at 8, the deputy leader for the Progressives will be our guest, Mr. Joey Hugh. We're on the heels, of their party conference, followed by a general election, with the possibility of a referendum on the cruise port coming, according to the tourism minister, by the end of the year. There are a number of individuals who have weighed in or see the press release from CPR, asking about the timing. Well, what is your view? And as this show has been posited to cite, people's minds into very pensive thoughts, this is a good opportunity. People often say, oh, it's a government station. Well, the beautiful part is that this democracy has always been one that ensures as best as possible, as exhibited by the example of our parliamentarians, to be available and accessible to the electorate. And a program like this, funded on a program produced by people who see the importance of having that level of access, is great. So unlike many jurisdictions where the government-owned apparatus is a machinery designed for the most part, propaganda, here we have a level of participation. And like For the Record has been a resounding success, giving equal access on equal days to the parliamentarians, for those who are with the government, who are in opposition as the government are waiting, and those who serve as independents. And that speaks volumes to the healthy democracy that we have. Hey, 949-8037, 949-6990. I want to share with you a very, in my view, considered perspective relative to the proposed referendum. Now, this came in much earlier, or depending on how you look at it, later. This fine gentleman, who I believe is not only well informed but humble and through that sense of humility, seeks to encourage others to speak. This one reads as such. It says the government is setting a referendum on a cruise berthing facility before the end of the year. Intelligent decision making requires factual information. As our elders often said, fools rush in where wise men and angels fear to trod. Even if 100% of people want a port, we first, in bold capital letters, we first need to know at what cost and what conditions. At the very least, the following questions need to be answered. 1. Where will it be located? 2. How much will it cost and our children? Cost us and our children. 3. What is the design? 4. How big will it be? 5. If it's built in the current location, what are the plans for the cargo port? 6. If the cargo port has to be moved, where will that be located? Question 7. How much will the new cargo port cost? Question 8. If we have to end up building 2 ports, one for cruise, one for cargo, where is the business case supporting this investment? 9. What is the environmental impact? Question 10. If cruise ships are berthed in town with easy access for passengers on and off, how does that impact restaurants and bars on shore? 11. What other infrastructure will require upgrading to accommodate such large volumes of passengers at one time? For example, roadways and sidewalks. Question 12. Do we know our carrying capacity? How many passengers can we handle? How many are optimum? Is there a limit? And 13. Would we be better off investing in preserving a pristine environment, reducing crime, and improving education for our people? Chances are these questions will not be comprehensively answered before the end of the year. So we also need to question why the rush to spend 1.2 million CI dollars now on a rushed referendum without the necessary information when we could include the questioning during the general election. Save 1.2 million and have the information required to make an informed decision. And that was from one of our listeners who sent those questions. Perhaps we refer to it. Now, on Friday morning, for the record, we're expecting the tourism minister. He has indicated his availability. Dr. Steve McPhee hopefully will also be able to join us. Now, the tourism minister had shared, just wants to get a yes or no. Do people want it? Many people say that's a good approach. Others will say, well, yes, they may want it, but there are a lot of questions, some of which of that 13 would probably be similar to what you're asking. As CPR's press release also questioned the timing. Why now? If it's not a major priority area, why expend any money on something when seemingly other things seem to be more important? The cost of living, for instance, the provision of housing and other services for many of our residents. Well, this is where that level of discussion helps. So, 949-8037, 949-6990. You can WhatsApp call 925-3261. You can also use the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255 and share your thoughts with us. As often the case, on the talk shows, many times as people hear others share something, they go, that's similar to what I was thinking, or that's exactly what I was saying. And sometimes, hopefully it always encourages others to go, well, that's a good point, but what about this? Or they may have a counter perspective, and that's healthy. That's essential in a time especially like this. So what's on your mind? Is the view put forward by many that at the end of the day, the government must have a clear mandate as to what it wants, or be it your perspective that they are elected, they should be able to move forward and commit the country to a certain path? Should they be able to do that because they're elected in a democracy, or should it be that their policies, projects, and expenditures are such that if they are of a certain sum or a certain impact, that it should have greater public participation. Well, I posed that question the other day on air, and I was, very, very grateful to others who responded. And the question was along the lines that, should governments in general do that? Some people say, well, that's why you elect them. Do you want to govern by referendum? Some pointed to other jurisdictions where the government is precluded, the government is prevented, cannot do certain things, beyond a certain sum or in a certain area or of certain types, or without having the public's input. Some people share that, as we question, well, what about a project that is irreversible? We gave as examples, large-scale dredging. Some would say, well, even dredging of any kind in certain areas. Some would say larger type of projects, particular projects, proposals to introduce things that up until that point were not necessarily legal or, the custom practice within the space. The individual shared as sort of an example in the Cayman context. Even though there is some tacit approval, some willingness to turn a blind eye to number selling and other gambling, do we want that to be wholesale? There were seen instances where it would have appeared that there is, at least was, as this individual shared, attempts to curtail the introduction of roosters and the fighting that they do. Some have alleged, well, that's now just gone underground and it happens, but nobody's making any noise because no harm, no foul. No pun intended. What is your view? 949-837, 949-6990, or WhatsApp call 925-3261, or use the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. And as we go into the break, we will, share the last thing that we asked, and we'll ask you again, given that this platform in particular allows a greater level of political commentary. Should a government getting close to an election, be able to do anything that is seemingly a large financial commitment to the country or irreversible? Now, with that, we got one very, very, very detailed lesson from one of the perhaps more notable political pundits, and his view was simply that to date, from the road pavings and many similar projects, we've seen governments to date do many of those things leading up to an election. His view is, should that continue, or has that been so well established that it's now expected as a bolster to the economy, as a way to not just reward and recognize voters, but to somehow give a little nod to certain areas. Well, what's your view? We'll pause and we'll take the break, and when we return, we invite you to share with us. Remember, the hit lines at 8 and then 8:15, the Deputy Opposition Leader will be our guest.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series. Brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The oldest known style of Caymanian home is the wattle and daub cottage, which dates back to the mid-18th century. The house was usually rectangular, with foundation posts made from the termite-resistant ironwood. Gaps between the ironwood and mahogany posts were filled with a basket weave of wattled sticks and then plastered on either side with lime daub made from burnt coral. The earliest roofs were thatched using palm tree fronds, but in more recent times, wood, shingle, or corrugated zinc has been used. Windows were simple openings with wood board shutters, while smoke pots helped keep out mosquitoes. Normally, these one-story dwellings would feature a steeply pitched roof, which would keep the houses cooler as the hot air rose. The typical yard would have been shaded with sea grape and plotnut trees, and there would be separate caboose for cooking.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
If you're hearing, then maybe it's time you replace that old appliance. Now until the end of August, you can save 15% on all LG appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. LG washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, microwaves, and hoods are all on sale at Brand Source Home Gallery. Not only will you save 15%, you also receive a 1-year parts warranty with any LG appliance purchased by the end of August. Only at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000.
This is For the Record.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Mr. Art for let me take the reins for his morning show for a bit. And certainly invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. And one of our listeners writes in on our WhatsApp, says as a priority, government needs to explain our internal economic plans. We know the outward corporate plans, but are we here to expect increased inflation and price gouging, even as we move towards 100,000? Well, some would say we're already there. What about the economics of scale? Or actually, be on economies of scale. Are our education and housing sectors expected to flatten even more? And a dismal minimum wage that is designed for mass cheap labor import and more local unemployment as a result? and it asks me to explain. Well, one interesting thing that many probably have to appreciate is at the end of the day, people read. How much necessarily do we understand? And when we do, are we capable of explaining it sufficiently? But this writer has some excellent points. He sees that government needs to make a priority explaining to our public, what are our economic plans? Do we have an economic policy? Suggests that we know what it seems like from the perspective of development and construction, this notion of the outward corporate plans as he writes it. But what about increased inflation and price gouging? Are those things that will come about as the population increases and the economies of scale that we can probably garner from other places? What's the emphasis on education and housing for our own people? And then the minimum wage, what happens there? Well, share with us. 949-837, 949-6990. Or you can WhatsApp call 925-3261. As part of the Coca-Cola birthday shoutouts, that's in addition to wishing Gary Smith a birthday, tomorrow, since for the record it's only on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, let's give a quick heads up to Dexter Rivers and Marva Scott and Seneca Ebanks for celebrating tomorrow. But today, Shilpa celebrates her birthday. So birthdays, I think, are key times for all of us to look. And for some, they don't only look at their birthday as it rolls on, and they celebrate on that day. They see each day as their eyes open to face a new day. They give thanks. They figure, well, what and how much and to what extent can they contribute? For some, what and to how much extent can they extract? Well, your view. 949-837, 949-6990. Or you can WhatsApp call 925-3261. Earlier there was a WhatsApp caller, and try back if you wish. 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us. I was looking at a message just prior to come back on here. I responded to the individual and asked, well, why don't you call to get the ball rolling, as opposed to me attempting to read what you shared. And he responded, and I didn't get a chance to sort of respond to his response, as it were. But there are things sometimes when we write it, it may not be exactly an accurate sort of reflection of what we want to say. Not just the words that we use, but maybe the tone isn't as impassioned, or maybe the tone might be a bit curt in one setting or the other. But when we can speak to something, speak with someone about something, it might be better to explain and understood. But for many of us, it's the whole idea of just having a particular point and then see if others would pick up on it as well. Case in point, one of our listeners shared something talking about the impact, not just increase population and construction. And the individual shares it isn't the idea of development or progress. It's just more and more buildings and congestion. For instance, one of our at least in my view, very informed listeners shared where on many of our roads in the evenings, we're seeing even now that there are seemingly less people as a result of schools being out, or people being away, or having staggered times, or some maybe extended holidays. How many of the roads are congested? This individual, together with two others, have sent either photos, snapshots of roads in the last few days and compare them to a similar time much earlier in the summer. And as I look at one comparison, it showed that as this one writes, as school nears reopening, we're seeing the roads become a bit more congested. This individual sends a picture of the bottom of the road and shares as you come off the bypass and questions, how much longer do we think it will be before the West Bay, becomes, gridlocked again by traffic, suggesting that as we look at road construction, it may alleviate the traffic congestion then. But if there are more cars, more people, how much longer before there's more congestion? I was looking at the message from the individual who was picking up, I presume, and this is what I want to clarify with the writer, a comment from one individual just the other day who said, well, it was even as recent as yesterday on Talk Today as well, who shared that it isn't the people coming from East End, North Side, and the like that are creating the traffic congestion. So when the new East-West arterial is extended, how and to what extent are we going to alleviate the bottleneck as they get closer and closer into town? And building more roads, maybe a short-term solution, if at all. But how are we addressing proper public transport? The use and the safe use of roads, that call in particular, Mr. Lawrence identified the need for people to cross multiple lanes, and now is that safe for everybody, for the pedestrian and those who are crossing by any means, to those who are using the roads? Well, those are things that we can have a opportunity at the very least to speak with the aspiring politicians, the established parties, those who are now currently, because we still expected the business of the country to continue, where the politicians go back and seek re-election, those aspiring seeking. We all have a desire to serve to some extent, and some have great ideas but are not sufficiently encouraged. One of the issues that the CPR in their press release asked the government to consider, if in fact a referendum takes place before the end of the year, not only could it be an expensive undertaking relative to that same sum of money being utilized for other or social issues in a time when it seems that many people are feeling the financial pinch, would it be more convenient to have it at the next general election? But also, given that some individuals would already, if not registered, have been excluded from participating in a referendum because by their submission, the date for that individual to have been effectively vetted and registered would have already passed, being at the end of June. Now we're into August. I believe that the Honorable Tourism Minister shared that they can accommodate such late registration. Now, whether that is something that is necessary, we can see where we are. As we reminded in heading into the headline news shortly, once the, I say headline. Thanks, Ms. Souza, for reminding. Yes, the regulator clock news. To me, this, the news, terminology. Thank you. See, Ms. Souza, not only does she know music, she's at the helm. If you listen to her sometimes, you won't get too much in trouble. But it's good to find your own way and, be big enough to get lost and not be afraid. So when we come back, the Deputy Opposition Leader will be our guest. Get a chance to maybe understand more. All right, ready, Ms. Susan? And to our listeners, stay tuned for news and join us after.
Thank you, Mr. Sterling. And studio time now is 8 minutes after 8, brought to you with the compliments of Price Right.
Shop happy at the Live Better sale, now on at the new look Priced Right.
Save $50 on the Ninja Creamy Deluxe Ice Cream Maker, now just $219.99.
Or transform your living space with the Samsung 55-inch QLED 4K Frame Smart TV for $899.99. Save $100.
And get 15% off all patio sets.
Happiness is finding quality products at great prices.
Shop happy at Priced Right. Price is good until 3rd August 2024.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With a look at Radio Cayman's 8 o'clock morning news, I'm Dion Anglin. In a serious incident on Monday, a collision occurred along South Sound Road near the Red Bay Dock. The collision involved a single vehicle and resulted in significant injuries to a woman. Cayman Islands Fire Service personnel promptly responded to the scene and they successfully removed the sole occupant from the vehicle. The roadway was temporarily blocked due to the collision, but it has since been reopened. Stay tuned to Radio Cayman for further updates on this developing story as police investigations continue. The Central Caribbean Marine Institute wants you to join their photography competition. Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Solins has more.
On June 7th, 2024, the Central Caribbean Marine Institute launched the Coral Reef Horizons Photography Competition, inviting photographers of all abilities to submit their images that celebrate the vibrant coral reefs of Cayman and the diversity of life that relies upon them. The competition is divided into 3 categories: coral, imagery of coral reef inhabitants, and macro photography, reef, reefscapes and images demonstrating the beauty of living reefs, and lastly, horizons, photography focusing on the land-sea interface or connections to coral reefs. The competition will be judged by experts from the field, including award-winning Blue Planet and Planet Earth cameraman Doug Allen. The top 3 submissions in each category will receive tickets to Festival of Seas 2024, where the winners in each category will be announced live. This will include prizes from Waterlust, Backscatter Underwater Video and Photo, Red Sail Sports, and more. Both CCMI's Festival of Seas and the photography competition are focusing on the power of visual storytelling to support ocean conservation. Find out more about the competition and submit your photos at reefresearch.org/FOSphoto. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Thank you, Felicia. In an exciting showdown at the Senior Caribbean Area Squash Association, or CASA, in Guyana, Cayman squash national player Julian Jervis clinched a remarkable silver medal, securing second place in the men's open finals. His fierce battle against Barbados's Kamal Cumberbatch kept spectators on the edge of their seats. Meanwhile, Jace Jervis displayed exceptional skill, claiming second place in the men's open plate finals, where he faced off against Jamaica's Dane Schwer. Cayman Islands Squash Association President Janet Sersing is there.
This morning we have the doubles and all 3 teams, the men's doubles, women's doubles, and the mixed doubles are all in the semifinals this morning, and the finals will be played this evening. So win or lose, we will all medal, but it will be which medal would we get, sort of thing.
Okay, and what time do games start today?
The first match is on at 10, which is the women's doubles this morning. And then follow on with the mixed doubles and then the men's doubles and the vets afterwards, the men's vets team.
Awesome.
Opening ceremony is this evening, and after the opening ceremony is this evening, then the finals of the doubles will take place.
And let's not forget Michaela Jans van Rensburg, who showcased her talent in the women's open plate finals. She went head-to-head with Trinidad's Ria Khan, leaving fans in awe. Now for a look at news from around the world. Here's the BBC.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Barack Obama has given a resounding endorsement of Kamala Harris for US President. He told Democratic Party convention in Chicago she would ensure that America was a force for good in the world, but that the delegates face a tight race to defeat Donald Trump. Sumi Somaskanda was at the convention.
This place was absolutely roaring to see the former President Barack Obama and the former First Lady Michelle Obama. Everyone was on their feet. It really was an atmosphere of complete enthusiasm and excitement. And really, they were able to deliver these speeches on a message that they said was one of hope. We heard Michelle Obama say, "Hope is making a comeback." That was something we heard reflected in Barack Obama's speech as well. And they made the case for why they believe Kamala Harris should be the next president.
The UN says for the first time in 4 months, an aid convoy has entered Sudan from Chad to bring desperately needed food to people at risk of famine in the Darfur region. More than a dozen trucks crossed the border at Adre a week after Sudan's military-led government agreed to allow aid in.
That's it for Radio Cayman's 8 o'clock morning news. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
This is Sherry Ebanks, and I work in the financial services sector. I am concerned about how climate change is affecting our beautiful beaches. Sea level rise and changing wind patterns are worsening the erosion of our beaches, and warmer temperatures are causing more sargassum to reach our shores. When our beaches are degraded, our tourism sector and the livelihoods of Caymanians are put in jeopardy. To learn more about the climate risks to our islands, visit www.gov.ky/climate change policy.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 86 degrees. Relative humidity is 82%. The barometric pressure is 29.96 inches and rising. The wind is northeast at 7 knots. Overnight low temperature was 84 degrees. Synopsis indicate dust from the Saharan air layer will limit rainfall over the northwest Caribbean. Additionally, a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean will support light winds and slight seas across the Cayman area for the next few days. Radar images show areas of isolated showers south of the Cayman Islands moving towards the west. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the low 90s with a heat index near 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and possible thunder, and temperatures falling to the low 80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet for tonight as well. High tide will be this morning at 10:35, low tide this afternoon at 4:28, and a high tide again tonight at 10:39. The sun will set this evening at 6:47 and will rise tomorrow morning at 9 minutes after 6. And the outlook is calling for an increase in cloudiness and showers from Thursday evening as another tropical wave moves over the Cayman Islands. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. Don't lie on your resume. Because if you say you've got trapeze experience, someone might shoot you out of a cannon and expect you to do a gymnast routine while flying through the air at 82 miles an hour. And just because you want to land on your feet doesn't mean you will. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Medical Insurance, so you get the best coverage for the price.
Get the best coverage for the price. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Brit-K, where people come first.
A dental checkup allows your dentist to identify any issues and maintain your oral health. Early treatment or prevention for problems is crucial, as untreated issues can become harder to manage later. Children should develop good oral health habits early to prevent tooth decay, which occurs when sugars from food and drinks interact with plaque bacteria, producing acid that causes cavities. Signs of tooth decay in children include yellow, brown, or black marks on their teeth and complaints of pain, especially when eating or drinking.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning. Let's take a look at traffic. Slow-moving traffic on Cool Road heading to Georgetown. Slight delays expected. And coming off of Barbara Thompson Way, steady traffic, but flowing traffic on Huldah Avenue. As we look to the east on Shamrock Road and Wrights Creighton Boulevard, flowing moderately in both directions. And on the Linford Pearson Highway, steady but flowing traffic. West Bay 4-way stop, flowing pretty good. Eastern Avenue and Godfrey Dixon Way traffic is moving on moderately in both directions. And coming off of the Esther Tibbetts Highway, traffic is steady but flowing. As we look to Edward Street, light traffic, Shedden Road, moderate flow of traffic in both directions. That's what's happening on our roads. If you've seen accidents or incidents, please give us a call here at Radio Cayman 949-6990.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
The new KFC nuggets have arrived. That unlike the no-gets. Ours are handmade using 100% white meat, unlike the no-gets. At KFC, we hand-bread every day to achieve the perfect flavor. After you try our delicious and crispy nuggets in the original recipe, you'll never settle for less. KFC, the real nuggets. It's finger-licking good.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome and thanks very much for joining us. And at 8:14 and 59 seconds, and a lady keeps her time. Well, honored to have the excellent company of the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MP Joey Hu. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Sterling?
Listen, man, I would be feeling great if we could have a football and pretend between the two of us. We know how to kick it back and forth, but I see that partly in jest and partly in a recognition that life transpires, right? We are in many instances reminded of how quickly time passes, but how much we can enjoy similar things, whether it's sport, and food and other things. But if I might, because you an incumbent parliamentarian and through your public service, following the example, your parents, but your father in particular, politics is within our veins, and it's important for us as a country to be cognizant of what happens politically. To you and your party members of the Progressive, hopefully you share with us some of the things you have on cards. But your meeting the other night, they promised or potential upcoming party conference is a reminder of the public to get involved, not because of a general election, but to participate in that process.
Certainly, and yes. I think, when you talked about my parents and then football, and Dad played on Saturday evenings up until I think age 82 on his 82nd birthday. I remember he had his last competitive match on his 60th birthday, so he played for quite a bit longer than you and I started.
Thanks for reminding us, because that's why, if we were just talking about earlier and not to talk at the school, we get busy in life and we believe because of certain things we don't enjoy that banter, that fun, but that activity. And he, like many of the men that generation, they still do, they did, because they understood what a ball in motion stays in motion, right?
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Of course, I 3.5 years ago now, broke my ankle playing, so cut my career, or put a pause in it. Well, I won't say here on record whether I'm ever going to play again or not, because I'd be risking divorce if I if I said that I am after 3.5 months in crutches and casts and boots and my lovely wife having to redesign the bathroom and the bedroom and everything else
to make it accessible.
So.
Well, I thank you for reminding us how important it is and how we can, through your father's example, could have participated. But through you, let's introduce to our listeners, our fantastic intern, really came out of fine, good people. So in partnership with Rotary.
Yes.
Miss Kayjah.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Thanks for sitting in with us, and to Mr. Hugh for the accommodation, as well as we engage our young people and everything. That discussion. That's why I believe of all the talk shows, for the record, leads when it comes to access to our parliamentarians. So I want to make good of your time, sir. Thanks for joining us. Welcome and share with us some of the things. Thanks for the opportunity to maybe ask questions, solicit some answers and the like.
Happy to, and let me also welcome Kayjah. And I heard
thank you.
Rotaractor?
Yes, Rotary Sunset.
Rotary Sunset?
Yes.
So you're a Rotarian?
Yes.
Or through Rotary
Through
Sunset?
Rotary, yes. They've set up this internship for me.
Yeah, and so Rotary Sunset is a new club on the island. It's a happy hour club, a little less formal than the traditional. I'm a part of Rotary Club of Grand Cayman, which is extremely traditional when compared to the other clubs. But let's take it back to why we're here, but I want to tie it in because I and at our general council meeting when the announcement was made that I would be, that the Honourable Leader Roy McTaggart was stepping aside and that he'd be nominating myself as the leader of the party in the upcoming conference in January, and that in short order we'll be stepping aside as the leader of the opposition, and we'll talk about that. It's two different things.
Yeah.
As a leader of opposition, to allow me some time to gain that experience within the parliament and outside of the parliament, responsibilities as the leader of the opposition. I jokingly said that it's a role that I don't intend to get too comfortable with, because come the elections I'd like to be leader of the country, not leader of the opposition. So I won't unpack too many boxes in the office, put it that way. But yeah, in my acceptance speech there, I mentioned, after speaking a bit about my personal life, talking about my work at soccer camps in the summer that my father organized, I ended it by saying that I continue to live my life by the Rotary motto of service above self. And that was something that I always had up in my office from joining Rotary 25 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere around there. And right up until I got elected, I had 12 years perfect attendance. And
wow.
I was unable to keep that level of attendance after being elected. But yeah, it's a wonderful organization, and you know, proof of the I know you had them on the show earlier this week.
I appreciate Patrick Schmidt always reaching out for all the Rotaries, you know. So again, service the country.
Yeah. So that's there is. I wanted to speak about first, you know, we shared at that meeting, General Council meeting 2 Saturdays ago, some of the findings from a not only polls but some roundtable discussions that were conducted on our behalf by a firm. And one of the one of the interesting things that came out of those, in particular the roundtable discussions, which were across a broad spectrum of age and the districts, etc., was the lack of knowledge of our local government and the government system. So that is something that the consultants actually put in their recommendations to us, that it's going to be a part of our responsibility as the only political party in the country at the moment to educate the public on local government, how government works. And so, as I always bear that in mind now as I go forward. So the Progressives, formerly known as the PPM, is a party, at the moment the only constituted party in the country, political party. I like, when I speak about politics and parties, I use the reference of organized politics. So organized politics versus independence politics is just a system where you have people that come together and are governed under constitution and bylaws, etc. And you have a structure. You have non-elected executives. You have elected executives. And there's a lot more we won't get into on that. But it's a structured organization who put together candidates and develop a manifesto. And I use the word develop. We don't create a manifesto and then say to candidates, you have to come and and follow this manifesto. We develop a manifesto as candidates so that when we are on the campaign trail and God's willing, once elected, we have a playbook, a manifesto that we can say, this is what we were elected on, this is the platform we were elected on, and this is what we're going to try to achieve together as a unified group, guided under a structure, as I spoke about earlier, constitution, a party constitution, and bylaws, regulations, etc. And then the wonderful thing about that, from a government perspective, is that you always hear, if you listen to Parliament and you listen to the budget in particular, or you read the budget documents, you see terminologies that the civil service will use. I'm talking about government objectives and this and this and that. If you are elected as a party and you come in with a manifesto, the first thing the civil service do is take that manifesto and then develop their, their policies and their objectives using that manifesto.
So the civil service would develop their policies based on that?
Yeah, so because this is a government policy, we're the ones that set the policy, so the civil service is going to go through that, each ministry will go through that, extract what falls within their ministries, and then set out those objectives. So that when we present, or when we are going for budget, when we present to cabinet, when they present, the civil service presents to the ministers, they can say that this meets objective 2.3 from your manifesto, blah, blah, blah. And they will put their own titles to it, and we have our own. But at the end of the day, you then, not only do you have everybody that's been elected working together, you have the elected government and the civil service all working in the same vein. I always refer to it as that poster that we would see as kids everywhere we went. People's businesses, I think they had at schools and stuff. I don't see it anymore. But it's the two animals, usually it's two donkeys or two horses with a rope tied between the two of them, and they're both trying to get to two stacks of hay. In one picture, you see them both fighting against each other to get to the mounds of hay, and then in the second picture, you see them together eating one mound of hay. And it just signifies teamwork, everybody moving in the same direction. You get stuff done versus both of them trying to get to their own stack of hay, whilst they could both turn around and go and eat one stack at a time. So you have a situation there where you don't have the civil service going one way and the elected government going the other way. And then within the elected government, you have independent members each going their own direction as well. So you can see that, for me, I am a strong believer in organized politics, in the sense that we are singing from the same hymn book, as we would say around here, and share the same policy agenda and have a manifesto that guides that, right? Now, your manifesto is not hard and fast because times change, even in 4 years. As Cayman is so small that 6 months things can change, whether it's COVID or a hurricane or any of those sorts of things, something external, 9/11, some terrorist attack or something. All of a sudden, still, flights are grounded, and so, tourism changes. You may have issues in financial services that cause you to not be able to continue the way you were going. So you have to be able to, as a group, sit down and say, okay, let's review this and how do we move forward from here. So, taking it all back, the Honourable Leader has offered his support, and I'm very grateful and humbled by it, to nominate me at the party conference in January, mid-January. We plan to have that, where there could be a nomination from the floor. There could be that. We don't anticipate that at the moment, but there could be a nomination from the floor, and then there could be a vote at the party conference between myself and whoever's nominated.
And then whoever is successful at that party conference as the party leader,
right,
would then be
the party leader and would lead the party into the elections, and God's willing, they win the elections, would then become the premier.
All right. So you reference for our listeners that there are two distinct things: the party leader and then the opposition leader.
Right, that's what I was working towards. So we, just on the same thing we've had in the past. I've been involved in the past where, in particular when there were multi-member constituencies, where we had a runoff at the district level. So we needed 6 candidates for Georgetown or 5 for Georgetown. We had 7 people. So we would call a Georgetown council meeting where the Georgetown members would come together, and then you would vote on who would be your 5 to contest the election out of the 7. So I've been involved. So we do have those things happen. That's happened historically. So that's the party constitution. That's how we operate under the party constitution. Then you have the country's constitution and the parliament. And so the Honourable Leader also said, as I said earlier, that in the coming weeks, we're waiting to see what the schedule is for the parliament, or perhaps before that, he would be stepping aside as leader of the opposition under the country's constitution, which is his leadership role at the parliament and to do with government overall, and would be nominating myself with the support of the other members of the opposition within the party as the leader of the opposition. So the leader of the opposition in parliament and under our constitution is appointed by the governor once that person has the support of the majority of members of the opposition. So it's usually a party, and the Constitution is written very much in the vein of party politics. So it would be the party or group with the largest number would make up the opposition.
So with that transpiring, then we would have a situation where we would have a political party leader that's separate, distinct from the opposition leader. Is that normal under the Westminster model?
Yes, yeah, it is. But it usually you would not, you wouldn't have a situation where the Honourable Leader would say, I'm going to nominate, I'm going to step aside and and support Mr. Hugh as the leader of the opposition. But I'm going to nominate somebody else in January.
Right.
He doesn't have my support.
So it's just a matter of timing then.
It's just a matter of timing, yes.
Right,
And that's what caused the confusion. But again, we're an organized structure, so we have to follow.
There's a level of discipline, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Respectful, Mr. Hugh, let's pause for the break.
Certainly.
When we come back, this is where the civics and education and opportunity. So to our listeners, please join us after the break.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
If you're hearing, then maybe it's time you replace that old appliance. Now until the end of August, you can save 15% on all LG appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. LG washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, microwaves, and hoods are all on sale at Brand Source Home Gallery. Not only will you save 15%, you also receive a 1-year parts warranty with any LG appliance purchased by the end of August. Only at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000. Get your child ready for the new school year with Total Health in Grand Pavilion. Total Health's comprehensive back-to-school checkups include ENT, eye, and dental pediatric exams. Ensure your child's health with a complete health report card before school begins. Contact Total Health today at 333-2222 or visit totalhealth.ky to schedule your child's back-to-school checkup. Total Health, where wellness meets education, because every child deserves a healthy start.
The Car City Summer Savings Event just got better.
This Saturday, August 24th, not only do we have great deals on every new car on the lot, but when you purchase a new car, you'll have the chance to spin and win. We'll be giving away free gas for a year, extended warranties, free servicing, and car insurance.
Plus, we'll have banks and insurance providers on site to assist with your new car purchase.
Visit us this Saturday to save and win big, only at the Car City Summer Savings Event.
This is For the Record.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And with one of our interns, Ms. Kayjah Warren, we are honored to sit with one of our MPs, and now there.
Yeah, it's such a good opportunity to get a young person's input, and also just allow me to get more knowledge on what's happening in our political atmosphere.
Mr. Hugh, somehow I feel that in her saying as a young person, that would mean that she's inferring that, you want to tell her or you want me to tell her? I mean,
come on now, don't spoil it.
Okay, I'm just making sure. No, but this is where an opportunity to sit, whether you're from different parts of the world, different professions, different ages, we're more alike than we're different. And if we are able to have a good discussion, we can come to a semblance of not just civility, but information and, informed action. And as you've taken us through, we're mindful, I think, around 9:30ish or so, you have another person engagement. So we're going to work with your time, give you as much incentive to stay long, but not impose and cause you to be a hostage, But we'll make use of it.
Yeah. So thank you, Sterling. And it is, I would invite Kayjah at any time to ask questions if something isn't clear, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that may have the same question you may have, right?
Yeah.
And so yes, so anyway, we look forward here in the next few weeks to myself becoming leader of the opposition, and that is a role that I will take very seriously. We'll continue on. I will continue on as the Honourable Roy McTaggart has done in carrying out that role of the opposition and leading the opposition and keeping the government in check and asking the questions that need to be asked of the government of the day. I literally actually also want to, just in case, I want to take it a step further, because we found out that, I've been speaking about organized politics and party. And I said earlier, I speak about, we're a party, but I speak about party politics. When I say party politics, I call it organized politics. Then you have independence. You can also have loose groups, affiliations that you would actually need to be involved in politics or pay keen attention to what is happening politically to know those groups. And those groups are made up of a few people that remnants of a former party, a few remnants of perhaps a former loosely associated group of persons that came up with a name, called themselves something. But you'll have loose affiliations. And because Cayman is such a small place, you will have members of parliament that went to high school together and have known each other their entire lives, played football together. You'll have family members. And you may be on different sides. But there's still that's my cousin, that's my good friend, that's, that's my in-law, whatever the case may be. So, but what we have had happen in the past and had happened in the 2021 election was where the party we ran 8 persons, won 7 seats, and then out of the 19, and then the rest were made up of independents, some who were associated with the party, some who the party supported as an independent, endorsed as an independent, and others who just ran loosely, somehow found themselves together at some point, and at the end of the election decided that rather than those who were associated with the progressives, rather than those coming to join us, they would go and join the other independents, sit together at 3 o'clock in the morning after the elections, come up with a catchy name, PAC, P-A-C-T, and then form a government of independent individuals. So they didn't even become the PAC before the elections or during the campaign. So they came together at the end of the campaign after being elected and formed a group and called themselves a PAC government. So those who voted for the progressives and the progressive candidates, and perhaps the progressives candidates that the progressives supported and went out and campaigned and said, no, through circumstances, Sterling is not a member of the progressive, but he's with us. And persons may have voted for that individual based on that information. Then all of a sudden, the persons voted then for those individuals, including the progressives, thinking that, okay, at the end of this, after the election, the progressives win, those persons would join the progressives, Roy McTaggart would have become premier, and you would have had a progressives-led government. But what happened was, at the end of the election, all of the independents got together and formed a government virtually overnight. So there's not a soul out there that voted for any of those individuals that anticipated that they were voting for a PAC government or for Wayne Panton as premier at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. With that scenario, I mean, you're talking about the last election, right? And in that case, two things. Those candidates that the progressives endorsed publicly. Mm-hmm. Did the progressives, if you can say, also help to financially fund, assist with the campaign, manifest, any other assistance than
not
just...
Not directly, no.
Yeah, I like the answer. Can you indirectly pay for something for me? All right. And then secondly, with that, given that we went to the polls, we cast our ballots in secret. I think everyone in this country has the highest regard for our elections office.
Right.
The way our elections are conducted, the campaigns, may be heated and people get on the stage, but when we go to the polls, it's orderly, it's civil. I mean, it's wonderfully, I think, to watch how we go about on elections day as a people. With that in mind, do you think that the voters who went and voted for those candidates, and they were voting for that individual, perhaps based on individual, whether, as you allege, as part of, they're associated with this entity or not, but they picked those individuals and say that's the best, John over James, for instance, James over Mary. What do you think? I mean, they may have voted for those as well, as much as based on that individual, given the choices. But
I think there were. To be fair, Sterling, I think it was a combination of both. Certainly, there is no doubt in my mind. I've said it publicly on this radio as well. There's no doubt in my mind that at the end of it, persons looked at the Honourable Wayne Panton and said, "Okay,
yeah,
it's a good guy." Former progressives.
Despite that, he's a good guy. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Former progressives. He's trying a thing.
Yeah.
We have generally referred to it over the last couple of years as an experiment. You've heard people say this little experiment, this little experiment. That's kind of what we talk about on the street. So he people looked and said, okay, you got some good people in there. This is different. A lot of people. There's a decent percentage of the population at that time that thought that a coalition of independent thinkers would be a good thing for the country. I have always found that a bit strange, that a coalition of independent thinkers. But
with that,
just based on the definition of independent thinker. But
yeah, okay, I see your point. But with that, I mean, could that be two things? One, the last election, I think it was a good indication of many things transpiring. But could it also be that the public looked at it and say, you know what, this is a sound rejection of party politics or organized politics?
I don't think so, because 7 of us were elected. Myself, Barbara Connolly, Roy McTaggart, Alden McLaughlin,
Mr. Moses,
Mosca Colonel, David White, and Juliana O'Connor Connolly, who was a member of the Progressive.
But 7 people that I think the country looks at and say, these are good people, right?
Right.
So 7 out of 19, is it?
Well, the Progressives outright ran 8 candidates.
Right.
Outright.
Yeah, and we have 19 seats,
and
so
7 were elected.
Right.
And as I said earlier, we didn't contest certain seats because we thought we had an alliance.
Right.
And also remember previously, the previous government before that was a unity government of ourselves with a
coalition government, right?
It was progressive led, but it was a coalition.
Right.
We called it unity government. So that was where we found ourselves, and that we did that based on good faith.
Right.
That this is and also I will say this, and also at the time the sentiment in the country was that they liked the whole idea of this coalition government type thing,
which is almost an indication of liking more independent thinking as opposed to party indoctrination.
I think it's more that we like the good governance of the PPM, we like the honesty, we like the strong leadership structure, but we like a couple other nice people. We would like to see a few of those people in there too.
Can we then ask then, and certainly to the point where you say, and more than likely people say, oh, this candidate in this area is affiliated with this party, we're going to endorse this. Could it also be that the individual candidate in that particular constituency being associated with another entity, another party, the voting public, the voters in that area might say, well, we can reject that because we don't like it. So just as the endorsement could help the person get elected, that endorsement could go against it?
It could. Some people may have felt that they didn't want to join the party because they were worried whether or not that would help or not help.
Right.
Some people, unfortunately, Sterling and Kayjah,
Kayjah, man. A powerful name, man. Can I say that? I just like it, man.
Some people just are proverbial fence riders. I'm sorry. There's no way else to put it.
But but you know, call it straight.
And I always tell people that my views on organized politics is because this. Persons get up there and they say things like, I will not work with this person. When they want your vote, they look you in the face, I will not work with this person. They look you in the face and say, yes, I will work with these people. They look you in the face and say, no, I will not do that. Then they get elected. And then they say, but I'm an independent. And, I know I said that, but under this situation, I can't help you unless I go work with that person. Or I think I have a better chance of helping you if I don't work with those people. So you can always justify change in your mind when you are an independent. And some people do that their entire careers in politics. But again, for me, when I was a voter, I wanted to know, when I voted for you, I wanted to know who you were going to join and what kind of government is going to represent me in the country. I would never go when we played football. Why did you play for certain teams? Because you look at who's the coach. What is the culture of this team, right? Can I make it with other players? Do they play my formation of football, right? How will I fit in?
Can you adopt it there?
Yeah. How would I fit in? If you're gonna take a job, you go out and you send out your resume and you have a couple, God's willing, you have a couple of employment opportunities. Then your next step is to say, okay, what is the culture of this company? Let me look at the leadership of the company, right? How do they lead? Let me speak to a few employees and say, hey, what's the environment like there?
And some people will just look at where their career upward mobility is and how
or is there a structured upward mobility? Is there a structured ladder? Right. So I look at politics in those very same ways. I want to know, when I vote for someone, I want to know, what organization are you a part of? What is the culture of that organization? So,
respectfully, let's take this break. 3 minutes late, but boy, getting close to on time. When we come back, we'll continue discussions. Stay tuned.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
If you're hearing, then maybe it's time you replace that old appliance. Now until the end of August, you can save 15% on all LG appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. LG washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, microwaves, and hoods are all on sale at Brand Source Home Gallery. Not only will you save 15%, you also receive a 1-year parts warranty with any LG appliance purchased by the end of August. Only at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its customers of a scheduled service interruption in the Prospect area on Tuesday 20th August and Wednesday 21st August to facilitate infrastructure works in the area. Customers on the following roads will experience an interruption of service. Tuesday 20th August from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, Westwood Drive, and on Wednesday 21st August from 9 a.m. till 12 noon, Holly Drive, Hickory Drive, and Morningside Drive. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it upgrades its water infrastructure and apologizes for any inconvenience caused.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to MP Mr. Joy Hugh for sitting with us. I recognize that for some of us, these lessons in politics and civics is so enlightening because we recognize that at whether 50 or 15, we don't know. And yet nobody wants to talk about it because you don't be talking politics. Yeah. And yet it affects our lives. So through you and to Miss Kayjah, I'm enjoying this education, Mom.
Yeah,
how are
me
you?
too. I am, because you'd be surprised how many people don't know, and I feel like there's people out there on the air that are listening, and they're learning something today, because I am learning a lot right now.
I even wanted to push on starting to talk, some stuff that might be obvious to some people, but it isn't, because on a day-to-day basis, I get phone calls or I have people stopping me and saying, Minister, you need to do this. Right? So it's obvious that they are not aware of or don't understand the election process and what happens afterwards. So we've touched on how a government is formed. And that is, in the case of the PAC government, and it's, they got together, they had a majority, and they wrote to the governor and said, whilst we're not a party, we have a majority of the 19 elected who have decided or nominated myself as premier. And then she would give that a day and say, fine, you're good, and then you head down to the parliament, and then at that point you actually have to elect the premier.
Right. So can we then ask at that point, to cast our minds back to make sure our recollection is correct? Following the election, in the days following, Mr. Panton, according to the public sort of information, presented the governor with these signatures saying I'm supported, and then the progressives, seemingly, my words, were contesting that, and then there was a public saying, well, wait a minute, you spoil sports. Here's someone who's presented. Can you help us to understand that?
And that was simply because we had individuals who who actually committed to both. So we had their signature on a piece of paper, and they had their signature on a piece of paper.
Okay. So from what you were sharing earlier, there was a sense of, can I use the word, kind of duplicity, duplicitous?
Very much so. And there were people that this is the issue again. I mean, I am progressives, and I have told my colleagues in Parliament, the opposition in particular, who will constantly say to me, you should have joined us, you should have joined us. I said, listen, I'm a member of the progressives. Right? My integrity and my, how do I go out to the people that I campaigned saying I was a member of the progressive and look them in the face and say, well, it benefits me and you for me to just switch sides now.
Right, political expediency.
Right. So some people look at it a different way. I'm not criticizing them. I have dear friends who say, listen, I have to do this for the benefit of the country. I'm not criticizing you, but that's just who I am. And as I would say to them, when I leave the progressives, I leave government, I leave politics. Okay. Right? I might leave politics and stay with the progressives, but if I leave the progressives, I'm leaving politics. But that's just me.
You're die-hard party, as they would say.
I'm die-hard. And at this stage, 12 years, 11 and a half years in, I don't have the energy to go form a new party and all that sort of stuff. So the first thing is I'm loyal to my party. Second thing is I believe in organized politics. I believe in party politics. So I'm not going to leave now and go try and start a new party or whatever.
To your aspect, can you have organized politics without being party politics? Because the party politics, from what there's a negative connotation.
Yeah, but that's why I say party all the time. And and the reason there's a negative connotation is because you adapt colors, you're identifiable, right? So people will label it all sorts of things. People will label Rotarians as things. People will label lodge members as things. These are people that do good in the community. These are people that go go out and help people, and not necessarily to put it up on social media to say I help someone, but
they help them because they can. They want to.
And that's their entire goal, is to help. But you can be labeled with other things too, right? The our club, Grand Cayman Club. I'll give you an example. The Grand Cayman Club had gotten so big that one of the few places that could competitively that could house us is the Ritz. Right? We just don't have a restaurant big enough that we can all sit in one room and conduct our meetings. And so people see my truck at the Ritz once a week, but they don't realize that it's every Thursday at 12 o'clock. They see it a couple of times because maybe they're a taxi, maybe they're doing something else, and they're like, boy, he always down by the Ritz. He hangs out at the Ritz. But I'm taking time out to go and do my civic duty and attend my Rotary meeting and contribute through Rotary.
On your obligations, commitments to your loyalty to your club.
Loyalty to my club, right? But the fact that my truck is at the Ritz once a week, they may not notice. They may just happen to go by 2 Thursdays in a row and don't realize that the last time they saw my truck there was Thursday at 12 o'clock. Then all of a sudden, yeah, boy, he just hang out down by the Ritz all the time.
On the Ritz.
Well, which and the Ritz is in my constituency. But anyway, but I'm just saying how trying to do something positive can be given a negative spin, right? But the Sterling, you asked me the question about can you be organized without being in a party? Yes, you can from a voter's perspective. Yes, you can. Because if you go out there and say, we are a group of individuals, we chose not to form a party, we chose not to do a constitution, there's nothing binding us together, but we're going to run as a group. Now, one of the key advantages of running as a group, because I want to give both sides, one of the key advantages of running as a group is you have different campaign financing structures. You can pool all of the money together, and that is an argument. That's one of the arguments that the observers raised in 2013. Is if you're not a constituted party, do you still fall under party financing? Because you have two types of financing rules: individual independent financing for campaign, and the party financing.
So a candidate can spend X, but as a party,
you can spend multiple X.
I see.
Right? Yeah. So is that fair? That's the question that's asked. But you can do that. You can go out and say, we are a group. That has happened in the past. In Cayman, prior to the Constitution being changed and introduced party politics, they were called teams. Right? But there weren't that many rules around it and financing and all that sort of. There was no carve out for teams. They just came together as a group. So you can do it. The concern is that, is it fair? Right? And why are you joining together for legitimate reasons, or are you joining together for party campaign financing purposes? Are you joining together to make people believe that you're a unified group, and then after you're elected, everybody go their separate ways? Those are the questions, but you can do it. We could sit here today and form a group. The three of us are going to go out and form a group, and Susan with us too, 4 of us. We only need 15 more, and call it, call it the RC the RC party, and go out and say we are a group. And we have decided that Sterling's going to be our leader, and we're going to contest elections. Now that doesn't bind us.
We made a good decision. Thank you for the endorsement. I mean, I'm halfway there now.
That doesn't bind us to anything other than we've said that. Right, and then if we're all elected, if we were smart, we'd stick together and form a government. But it doesn't stop anyone from just getting up and going and saying.
And this is where those discussions. I'm gonna apologize to you, respect the break, but man, I'm enjoying this. News headlines at 9, and then come back and please, honorable opposition leader to be designated. All right, stay tuned.
Yesterday,
today,
always and forever.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Ministry of Education and Department of Education will be closed on Friday, August 23rd from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. to enable staff to attend the annual Education Professionals Welcome event. The MOE and DES apologizes for any inconvenience caused by this closure. Good morning, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Michelle and Barack Obama gave resounding endorsements of Kamala Harris on Tuesday night at the Democratic National Convention, exhorting party supporters across the U.S. to turn out and vote to defeat Donald Trump in November. But the couple also warned their party not to lose sight of what remains an extremely tight race amid the enthusiasm for Ms. Harris's campaign. And Romanian police have searched the houses of controversial influencer Andrew Tate as part of an investigation into new allegations against him. The internet personality was already awaiting trial for rape and human trafficking, but could potentially now face additional charges of sex with and trafficking in underage persons, as well as money laundering and attempting to influence witnesses, prosecutors say. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan, who have a massive following on social media, have denied all previous charges against them. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to, in this case, Rotary Sunset for facilitating our intern, Ms. Kayjah Warren. Together, I know, if you don't mind, in this instance, sort of, aligning our interests. We're going to support and encourage our young people in their endeavors, right, Mr. Hugh?
Certainly,
yeah.
Absolutely.
We may chair for different teams, but
top of my agenda.
Ms. Kayjah, I have a lot of the things I want to ask and share, and I know the honorable member as well. But anything you want to jump in and say and ask, let's.
Yeah, I actually did have a few questions. I have an interest in politics as a young person. I'm not really familiar with how to get into politics. What would be your advice?
So, I think during the break, and you're going down the right road already. You're forming, joining organizations like Rotary. During the break, sometimes we can talk a bit more candid on the break, or less guarded, I should say. and we talked about, let's talk about me. I can talk about me.
Yeah.
No interest in politics before 2012, but had a very extensive history in public service and community service. Deputy Chair of Port Authority, Chair of Trade and Business, Chamber of Commerce President, Rotary President, Key Club and High School President, on and on and on and on. Football was a passion of my family, so I spent my summers doing soccer camps, football camps, coaching kids. So it's, I was speaking with a kid the other day that they were 13 and I was 19. And I took a group of 17, 13-year-olds to Newfoundland by myself at 19 years old. And I went to Cayman National Bank and got a $1,500 limit credit card, which I still hold on to this day because it's precious to me. It was my first credit card, and I got it because I was going on this trip, and I'm like, how in the world am I going to deal with all these kids by myself? And it was a fascinating experience. And I was just chatting to one of the young men over the weekend who was on that trip. So that is how I found it. And then there were events that happened within our country that pushed me towards. And I admitted to you earlier that my focus at that time was more on Rotary, and I had very lofty goals for Rotary, which I've put on hold. We'll get back there one day. But you're starting off in the right track. Where we have failed, and I said we as a party because we're the only party,
okay.
Where we have failed is that we have not kept our youth arm going. And that would be, ideally in this world, there would be 2 parties or 3. And you could look at those 3 parties and you could say, who do I align myself with? What, read up on them, what is their ethos, blah, blah, blah. And then join their youth arm and get involved from there. This is a top priority for me. I've already started having meetings with individuals about how we do that, and I intend to form what I'm going to call a youth caucus, because I think it's unfair to ask young people when we're the only party. So we are, imagine a nice Cayman black mango sitting up in the middle of a tree by itself, the only one left in the tree. Every child around the block can be pelting a rock at that mango.
Yeah.
Right? If there was no mango in the tree, they wouldn't pelt it. If there was a dozen mangoes in the tree, everybody would be pelting at a different mango. But there's only one mango, so everybody pelting at it. That's where the progressives are now. We're the one mango up in the tree, and everybody's pelting at it. But what I want to form is what I'm going to call is a youth caucus. And for the reasons that I don't want anyone to feel like they're labeled, but I want to use it as an educational platform for young people to get into politics. And that youth caucus, so a caucus, the difference between a caucus and cabinet, I mean, we could spend all day on education, But we introduced in 2013 where all elected members, and when we were predominantly the party, elected members and the chairman, the non-elected chairman of the party, executive of the party, would sit on Mondays and go through government policies. Those documents would circulate through that caucus twice, and then it would become a cabinet paper, and then would go to cabinet. Cabinet is where only the ministers sit. Those are the decision makers, and you're what we call bound by collective responsibility. By the time we got it to cabinet, or by the time you get it to cabinet, where the governor sits, the Attorney General and the Deputy Governor as the head of the Civil Service sits. By the time it gets to cabinet, there shouldn't even be a vote. There shouldn't be a discussion. It should be that the minister presents the paper, the governor is satisfied that it meets UK requirements, doesn't interfere with her roles, the Attorney General is satisfied that it's legal, and the Deputy Governor is satisfied that it will not have adverse effects on the civil service, and that the civil service can carry out that policy, right? And so when we get there, sometimes issues will come up in those areas at cabinet, and it goes back again, but it doesn't have to go back to caucus. Usually it's technical stuff, it comes back to cabinet. Then it's approved in cabinet, and if it is legislation, then it goes to the parliament, right? So I would like to form a youth caucus where young persons like yourself would come together and discuss topical issues and develop cabinet papers, per se, a caucus paper, a policy paper.
This youth caucus would be a part of the party youth caucus?
Well, here's because I like I said, I just want it to be welcoming to everyone. It has to feel like there's no allegiance that the parents, whoever, I don't want it to be branded in that sense. But I will give my undertaking to those individuals, that if they keep it up and as I said, God willing that we become the next government, I will continue that youth caucus.
Right. So that should be separate from the Young Progressives.
I would like for it eventually to become the Young Progressives, but at this stage, I think it's so important to get our young people involved that I don't want to label it.
So is the Young Progressives still in operation?
It is not. It is in our constitution, but it is not in operation at the moment, and we want to get there.
Right.
But I think I may be wrong, and maybe if I put it out there, people are willing to come in as Young Progressives, but that's fine, but I'm still going to term it as a youth caucus.
So with Kayjah, with the caucus, we have cabinet, and thanks for getting us.
But let me finish. To wrap that thought up. So this youth caucus, we would bring in someone to do training on how to prepare policy papers, and then we would take those policy papers once approved under the youth caucus, and take them into consideration for the manifesto.
Okay.
Right? And then once elected, I would still like for that youth caucus to continue to operate and then come in once a month and present to the government caucus their papers.
I think on your page, Balika Samamba has offered his services for training, so maybe you can reach out. And that training to your youth caucus, could you also offer that to your elected parliamentarians as well? Because sometimes they don't really.
Yeah, the elected parliamentarians, the civil service, once elected, especially for the new parliamentarians, the civil service will, and in the instance of a party, right away the civil service will reach out and say, okay, we've read through your manifesto. Here's the groupings for ministries. We think these, based on your manifestos, these subjects should all be under one ministry. Here's our they call them broad outcomes. They'll have all that developed already. Here's our broad outcomes for your manifesto, and then they'll have a training, more of a orientation. Sorry, not training, orientation for in particular the new parliamentarians coming in.
And we know that in the U.S., for instance, some of the more elite universities offer that for their incoming freshmen senators and Congress.
So we have, we have youth parliament, which I get myself involved with every year, and it's fantastic and amazing. The future is bright, and they learn how to do a cabinet paper, not a cabinet paper. They learn how to develop a motion, or a bill, and that's one side of it. But we find that when we go there and speak to them, we have to go all the way back to the beginning to explain to them, because we're not doing them any justice if we just teach them how to do a motion and go debate it. When they have no idea how do I get to that point, and what is the difference between a motion and a bill? All these different things.
And then we have private bills that we didn't know we could as well.
Yeah, that's under the Constitution. You can do private bills. So it's and recently now, one of the interesting things that have come out of this association of independents is that on Thursdays, usually Parliament used to last until Thursday, you have private members' motion day. We used to call that opposition day, right? Because that was the day that all private member motions are submitted and debated, etc. But recently, we've had just as many private member motions coming out of the government benches as from the opposition. And so now it's called Private Members Day and that's the way it was intended. But we would always, all of my years there before, we always talked about Thursday being Opposition's Day.
Yeah. And I guess in the UK, the parliamentary questions, right?
Well, we have PQs here too, parliamentary questions, and we for the first time in the 11 and a half years I've been here, we actually have parliamentary questions coming from the government benches as well, which is crazy because you'd think they would just ask those questions in caucus, right? But
so with that sort of education, and we appreciate it, the caucus, as we now understand, there's the cabinet and then there's the caucus. Is the caucus within the Constitution? Is it constitutional?
No.
Okay. No. So. How do we address that? Many would say in the caucus, you have all these things that you outline happening in the governance of the country transpiring. So when it goes to cabinet, it's rubber stamp.
Because the last thing because the last thing you want to have happen is your government backbench voting against you because they didn't know about this cabinet paper. They didn't know about this bill or this motion, or I would like to know that if a MP comes into the radio station and a question comes up about a recent government policy, because it doesn't have to be legislation. It could be a policy, it could be changes in regulations, etc. I would like to know that MP is as informed as all the rest of the ministers are informed about that policy, because that is how you keep your government together.
Are we at risk then? Because the logic sounds good, but since it's not constitutional, how do we formalize it so that the legalities, the operation,
because
protections?
You're just looking at the policy and not at you're not creating, or you are not debating the cabinet paper. Yeah. So cabinet paper is cabinet. Right. That's a blue paper.
Right. So in cabinet, we know the elected members and the ex-official members. So sort of all the duly appointed, recognized, constitutionally recognized individuals. In caucus, are there non-elected people? Like how many? To what extent is the wider public?
You wouldn't. There shouldn't be. You have presentations. People come in and present to the caucus. So if you have an idea for Cayman, or you have a business that you want to do, but you think the government should be involved, you come in and you present to the caucus.
At the invitation of the caucus.
At the invitation of the caucus.
Right.
And so the caucus can invite persons to come in and give presentations, etc. If you are a constituted party and you are in power, then you could invite your party chairman or a representative from the party to come and speak to the caucus as well, or in this case, what we were talking about, this youth caucus, we could have those individuals come and speak to the caucus and present their ideas.
So in that sense, within the PPM, or at the PPM's caucus, when the PPM was in power, were there attendees, not just invited ones for presentation, who were sitting within caucus during the discussions?
In 2013, the chairman did, yes.
Right. And subsequent to that, so only the elected people?
No, because after 2013, where we did have a couple of independent members in join us, and they had no issue with it. In 2017, it was much more of a coalition. So no,
only elected people were sitting in caucus.
Yes.
No non-political elected people, other than those invited to present.
Right.
All right. Do we need to take a break, Ms. Susan, or can we keep talking? Jeez. I take license. All right. Let's take the break. I'm learning. There's no exam, but man, you've been informed. Stay tuned.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Miss O.C. for giving me the reins for a bit. He's not too constrained, and to Miss Kayjah for sitting with us, Miss Kayjah Warren, and MP Mr. Joy Hugh. Miss Kayjah.
Sorry, I would just want to clarify a couple of things before we move on to Miss Kayjah's next question.
Yes.
Also in the caucus, I failed to say that we also had a caucus secretary who was not elected but worked in the Premier's office.
Okay.
And I think that is the same for the current government. We also had on occasions policy advisors from the Premier's office and others come in and present on a particular thing. And that is where, things like regen and stuff like that, you would get updates by the technical advisors on those particular things. But that's so again, by invitation, you had civil servants and others come in and present on various things.
Yeah.
And that just took a lot of the harassment out of trying for the minister in particular to try and explain to everyone, after the fact about everything. If you keep your entire government informed throughout the process, then everybody's on the same page.
Thanks for that clarification.
Miss
Kayjah.
Yeah, so I was just curious. You were on about like what got you into politics and that. So is there somebody who's like proper young that got into politics, like really young in Cayman that you can think of?
Good question. So there used to be young progressives.
Yeah.
And I think there are a couple of people in the peripheral of politics that were a part of that. And there was a very organized, because I will give credit where credit is due, prior to the demise of the UDP, they had a very organized young UDP, YUDP they were called. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me not call any names. There are at least two persons that are currently elected that were members of the young UDP. So yes, they came up through they got their interest through a young political thing. I also think, I know that, I'm not sure if he was part of a Young Progressives or not, but I know that he was certainly involved at a very young age in the Progressives, was the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, was also very much involved at a very young age, contested the 2013 election as a progressive and lost, and then contested 17 as a independent and won his seat. But he spent many years in the progressives prior to contest an election. So yeah, there are people that come in, and the other thing you can do other than my ideas is to simply go to a MP's office or to a party's headquarters and say, I'd like to get involved, I'd like to volunteer a little bit, especially in election season coming up now.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do. And it is, when I first got involved in 2012 and I started going to the meetings, and then when the elections came around, I was like, wow, this is a well-oiled machinery, and there's so much going on. There are all these different little groups working. You got data analysts, you got data enters, you got strategists, you got consultants, you got so much going on, and it really was, for me in the very beginning, a little overwhelming. I was like, wow, I just thought you go out there and have a couple of meetings and ask people to vote for you, and I'll share it. It's fascinating because I'll even share under the multi-member constituencies, and you have these analysts, and you have persons that analyze your what we call canvassing, and they, back then it was multi-member constituencies, so you didn't get the results until the wee hours of the morning. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, one of those persons who was really good with numbers and political data analyst, I guess, came and woke me up. I was sleeping under a table at the headquarters on Crew Road. Woke me up and he said, they're just starting the Anglican church boxes, and you're gonna win. You're good. So I went out there and I was like, no, I'm still not in. I'm not in the top 5. And they're like, it's the Anglican church boxes. Trust me, you're good. So said, so done. I catapulted up the ladder and I won. I was like, you know how? But they analyze your canvassing. If you put the work in beforehand, they can tell you. So it's so much to learn. It's not as, I learned a lot that year. I was really blown away by the science behind it all. Yeah.
That famous word that policy made fool. Anyway, Miss Kayjah, what else you want?
So the caucus, is that targeted at like a certain age?
Yeah, I haven't narrowed it, but it'll certainly be, I think the age group that we're looking to get involved is 18 to 25.
Okay.
Okay. So that
I have, I think we may, I want to use that because when you're doing like, when you're doing analysts and when you're doing studies or you're doing reports and stuff, that's the age group they always use. I think either 18, 25 or maybe up to 30, 18 to 30. Because I know there are people 26, 27 who are just now settling in, just got their job and just now all of a sudden paying attention, and I would hate to leave those out,
Yeah, okay. And I should let Sterling take over.
You are so... thank you. No, listen, I'm hoping that if they would, not only through me, but if I can sort of borrow from my elected parliamentarian, let's continue for as a country to encourage our young people in their political aspirations, but also their political sort of knowledge. Mr. Hugh,
they have to take their rightful place. This is, we always talk about young people and the future for young people, and I will actually go out on a limb here. I'm going to make a very bold statement on the radio. I say it all the time. But we as adults, and in particular some organizations, have got to stop using young people when it's to our benefit. If we are saying that we got to listen to the young people, then we have to listen to everything they say, not just pick, choose, or set them up to promote something that's from my agenda.
Yeah.
Well, so I appreciate you supporting my public comments and saying that because, boy.
When you get up there and you say, you put a young person forward to say, save this, you got to listen to the young people, and you get members in parliament getting up saying, look at these young people protesting over this. Listen to the young people. And you have to listen, yes. But not when you're the person putting ideas in their head. Yeah.
But you also got to
guide them. All of us will say, listen to the young people about the environment. That's a very easy one, right? We can get them riled up about the environment, and we put them out, we get them with placards, we bring them together and socialize, and then take a big picture and say, the young people said save the seas or save the environment. Okay, I agree with you. Let's talk about that. The young people also say support same-sex marriage. Are you willing to support them in that too? Young people also say decriminalize marijuana. Are you willing to support them in that too? Young people also say nightclubs should open until 3 a.m. on Sundays. Do you also support them in that? We can't sit down and say, listen to young people when we're just going to pick, choose, and refuse what we listen to. But I don't say do what they say, but listen to, and then stop using them for our convenience is one of the pet gripes I have.
No, I think about Mr. Hugh, to that point,
never,
right?
ever rant on the radio, but that was my little rant.
No, remember that this is for the record, Jan. This is where we rant politically. All right, can we share? I was going to say something else, only to share as you talk about young people, though. But we got to be mindful as adults, the parents and the teachers, that yes, we listen to them, not to use them as you share, but also we need to nurture and guide them and helping them, because many times, they're young, and we've had this week alone, Ms. Kayjah, young people say, wait a minute, we're still young, we want to have a sense of independence, but we don't want to be thrown off the deep end. And that's what's happening, right?
We have to sit and speak with them and talk about them, because we all want to see. Let me take another issue. We all want to see a reduction. I certainly want to see a reduction in garbage going into the landfill. Right? it annoys me to know it when I walk on the beach and see the straws and the cups and stuff. So I support looking at banning certain single-use plastics, right? Then there are persons who are pushing young people out there saying to ban all plastics, right? We were chatting during the break about Kayjah's beautiful
Stanley.
Well, I wasn't going to advertise, but her wonderful water cup, right?
Yeah.
And she actually said this is very popular amongst the young people.
Yeah.
Well, if we ban all plastics, you can't import those.
Yeah.
But again, this is where right.
So I'm just using that as an example. Like, you know, we sit down and
Mm-hmm.
there's compromise and everything. We got to talk about these things, and we can't just.
Mm-hmm.
That is when we are trying to steer young people in a direction just for our, you know, just
right.
for the optics of it versus really listening to them and really informing them and educating them about.
We only need them when we use them when we need them.
Yeah.
We're going to break with Susan. If I might, as we go into the break, your colleague in the Parliament, Tourism Minister, Mr. Bryan, says happier about the opportunity the PPM gave him. They did teach me a lot. So that's from the Honourable Kenneth Bryan. We'll pause. We have 2 other messages from our WhatsApp that we want to share with you. And then a couple of things. Stay tuned.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome back, and together with our intern, Ms. Kayjah Warren, we're sitting with MP Joey Hugh. Hey, thanks. Publicly, I want to know that you participate with Mr. Ort from time to time, not just on Opposition Wednesdays, but publicly to you and other your colleagues within the PPM. You know, come on, talk today as we get closer, especially while I'm still hosting, right? We have a couple of things that we wanted to ask. Certainly want to give you the opportunity to share. Let me see this one. This is a good discussion. It says the PPM will do anything to get back in power. The PPM was in power 8 years. It could have done a lot of things they are suggesting. wants you to grade your PPM's manifestos, over the years, and how do they sort of dovetail into where you are now?
Interesting. That's an interesting intro, saying that we'll do anything to get back in. If we have no interest in governing the country, then why are we contesting an election? No one wants to be opposition for the sake of being an opposition. So yes, we would like to get back in. Doesn't mean that it's going to be all the same members. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the same manifesto again. We change our manifesto every 4 years or every election. And the interesting thing is that the reason for that in particular is because things change. Things change. Let us look at cruise birthing facilities. Big issue. When we took office in 2013, it was just around 1 million cruise passengers. People were hurting. I remember going down there with Honorable Moses Colonel, and there were just about fights happening down there. It was disarray. It was terrible. Not a good thing for any tourist coming to the country, whether you supported cruise or not. It's not the kind of picture we wanted to paint, especially if we were expecting return tourists from cruise passengers. The Port Authority was struggling financially. They were missing, prior to the 2008 recession, we were at 2.1 million cruise passengers. In 2007, we were at 2.1 million cruise passengers. 2013, we were down to around 1 million, maybe a bit below 1 million, right? So we made efforts then, put together a plan and made efforts to build it back. We built it back to about 1.9 million. And then we talked about piers because it was a thriving sector of our tourism, and it was helping to subsidize and helping us to defer proposed increases in port fees, which would have ultimately trickled down into increased cost of goods on shelves, right? So that was then. That was then. Stayover tourists were around the 300 mark, I think just under the 300 mark, right? Today we're at the 500,000 mark on stayover tourists. Huge difference. Big part of that is Airbnb. Wasn't around then. That advent happened after, right? We had COVID. Cruise came to a halt. Persons through, if I take any credit at all, persons through the Center for Business Development that we opened were assisted in pivoting out of cruise tourism to perhaps pivoting into stayover, into other industries, maybe changing your buses from cruise buses to transportation buses, whatever the case. So what is, the difference between, if you're going to say what is the difference between a PPM manifesto in 2013, 2017, just for example, is 200 and something stayover tourists extra, a reduction due to COVID, or a halt in cruise tourism due to COVID, and a huge increase in the population. So now when we look at anything, and that's just one example, the difference between 13, 17, and 21 are completely different, and 25 will be even more different.
Yeah. With that 25 sort of manifesto, right, to that point, the 19 constituencies, can you say two things? Of the 19, how many is it that the PPM plan to contest? There are 19 constituencies across the Cayman Islands.
If we have quality candidates, we will contest all 19.
Okay.
Our goal at the moment is to target 15 and a minimum of 12.
Okay.
But
which 15 are you looking at? Or by default? Okay. Which ones are you not looking at?
I won't say that either.
of the present, is it 7 members now in the PPM?
6 of us now.
Okay.
In the opposition. Well, 5 in the opposition and the Honorable Speaker.
Okay, so 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the 6, how many of the 6 can you say are intend to contest the next general election?
What I can say and is that, and this is very strategic in my answer, and I apologize for that in advance. What I can say is that of all 7 of us, including the Honorable Speaker, are committed to ensuring that their seats are retained as a progressive seat.
So whether they're going to be a candidate or not. So, okay, that's a strategic, political expedient and understandable answer.
Yeah.
But it obviously by inference.
And if it's not going to be by them, they will have someone who will.
It is obvious then that Mr. Joey Hugh intends, God's willing, to be a candidate. You can say that
Certainly.
Because you're going to be expected to be the part
Roy
of it.
McTaggart has committed to staying on to support me, so you have that continuity.
Right.
And that was something we did.
Yeah.
We highlighted at the conference, Honorable Kurt Tibbetts, at a time where he thought that it would be better served for him to step aside and support the Sir Alden McLaughlin. He did that and then stayed on one term supporting Sir Alden, not as deputy or as leader, but as a minister, just so you have that continuity. Okay. Sir Alden then chose his time to step aside, and we had the Honourable Roy McTaggart, and then Sir Alden did a term, committed to at least one more term to support him, and we continue that.
So we're going to ask two things just for clarity. First, given what you said with Mr. Tibbetts staying on, you said Mr. Roy McTaggart will stay on. Does that mean as a candidate contesting the seat that he's in now?
Yes.
Okay, so two for sure will be on, and not as a sort of advisor. Okay.
Right.
And then we're going to ask again, can you say of it, of your incumbent candidates, you don't want to give us a window of who might be staying on other than the two of you?
Let me listen. We understand, right, clearly that we have certain attributes that people really admire. Our good governance record, our stability, the solid foundation we have, the continuity, strong leadership through times such as the earthquake, through COVID, even going way back to post-Hurricane Ivan with Honorable Kurt Tibbetts and those. We've always had a history of strong leadership through difficult times, through the recessions, etc. So, but now people are also saying, okay, across the board, we would like to see some fresh faces as well. We would like to see some younger people involved. We'd like to see some new people involved, and so we're listening to all of that. And it is with no shame and certainly admirable when and if I should say it just proves that, for me, it proves that members of the progressives are in it for the right reason. It is admirable for someone to say, I've given my best, and I could win my seat.
Yeah.
Every single one of us can win our seat. There's no two ways about it. But I think I have found someone else who has more energy and who's willing to commit for the long term, where I just don't have that much time left.
And new face, new vision, perhaps more youthful energy, as you shared.
And that is, it is admirable for someone to be that selfless and put country first.
Well, for talk today in a future show, you will come on, we'll talk the politics of the party and the like. Two of the things, I think, to what you say, the strong leadership, it shows, with the schools, the PPM's initial sort of foray into the construction of the schools, the significant cost of those, maybe a learning opportunity going forward as to how we can, reshape. So from there to now, the strong leadership, perhaps, huh?
Yeah, I think everyone has seen the progressives evolve over the years. I think we can all admit and appreciate now that whether you like the way it was done, I certainly wasn't involved back then. I was probably more focused on football and other things then. That where would we be now without those high schools? As we speak at the moment, we're still short on space, and if the move hadn't been made to start those schools back then, we would be in a real mess today.
Yeah. If I might, picking up what you shared during the break, you were, I'd be encouraged. You were talking about the youth caucus, right? As we go into the next break and close up, you inspired me to share that if it was me, instead of a youth caucus, I would look at, if I was an elected person, expanding the district councils, that we get a greater participation and through that, right? Instead of the party thing. And then equally, and perhaps even better, we have an established youth parliament. You, as parliamentarians, give a lot. So even having that within the schools, we see a model UN, for instance, in some schools. So if we have the youth parliament, it's not only at that level, not for examination, but for education and instruction. So I would look at it.
I'm quite sure that on the district councils, I agree with you 100%, and that is something we kind of have, I admit, we failed on as well. It is going to be very, very difficult. We will try, but it'll be very difficult as opposition members to form district councils. At this stage, anyone that's going to come now and join a district council or join you are going to come and join you as a person helping to get you elected. They want to be in your election campaign. But for those that we are not able to do prior to the election, and once, win, lose, or draw, after the election, that is a priority. It's a priority before, and it will continue to be a priority.
But you saying the youth caucus would be post-election, right?
Right.
So
yes. I want to get that started.
For me, that would be the district councils, then.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think I'm trying to just be as realistic as possible. It'd be very difficult to now form district councils.
It would be disingenuous, probably, right now.
Exactly. It would appear to be, certainly. And then I'm sure someone at the Parliament is listening, if not the Speaker himself. And we were chatting during the break, and I think it would be great for the Parliament to have some outreach and start getting involved in the schools, and perhaps working with the Department of Education. And you mentioned. Do you mind if I mention about the teacher?
Go right ahead.
So you mentioned during the break that a teacher was once in the school teaching. Let me just put it. Was teaching about the structure of government in a different island. And you inquired why, and the teacher said, well, that's the only one I know. That's where I'm from. So I just it's the basics are the same. But no, we would like to have teachers. I think it'd be a great outreach for the Parliament to be going into the schools to speak. When we were growing up, we had a big poster. You remember the poster in every classroom with all the pictures and who the premier was and the flow chart and everything. Of course, there was only maybe 7 people back then. Wasn't as convoluted with all the different arms and stuff as it is now. But, we all knew who the politicians were because we saw this poster every day. Every day you went to school, you saw this poster up there, and it told you who was the leader of government business and who the members of executive council were and who the MLAs were. So I say it out loud, and I'll remind. I'm sure somebody's listening to make a note, but my first opportunity, I'll do so.
Well, you're giving me a public way. I've reached out to the Honourable Sir Alden, and I will again, this time more officially. But Mr. Hugh, again, the public invitations to you colleagues to come on. I know Mr. Art extends it always. Thank you for that extended time. I know you had your meeting scheduled.
No problem.
We can see you again soon, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it certainly was I enjoyed this morning's conversation tremendously. I think some people may be disappointed. They expected to hear politics and our broad policy objectives coming up and that sort of stuff. We'll have a lot of time to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I took very seriously our consultants' comment that they feel that it's incumbent on us as the only party in the country to help educate our population about government.
Right. Well, when we come back, me and Ms. Kayjah will talk about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
To our listeners, the final break, then rejoin us here on For the Record.
Can I?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm sure, I'm sure she's listening. When my dear friend, Miss Dorothy, I just wanted her birthday was on Monday, so I want to wish her a belated birthday, and I will get back to see you.
Okay, and we're going to do some more birthday shout-outs before the show, too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money Transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And I think Ms. Kayjah Warren for sitting with us. The opportunity to sit across the table from, currently serving, member within our legislature. Too many countries don't have that sort of opportunity. And I think in Cayman, not only do we take it for granted, but we allow people to sort of disrespect and disparage that without appreciating that, unofficially, informally, I would say, hey, Joey, how you doing?
Yeah.
But he's a member of our parliament. And like the other 18 members, we show deference to them and to their positions, right? And yet in our country, we need to show, but expect also the respect. So it was good. I appreciated him coming on and that access that really came on through all of our shows and our programs allowed. So what do you think? I got a couple of things to share with you, but what do you want to say? What's on your mind?
I feel like it was interesting to touch on some of the things that we touched on. And I feel like there needs to be more effort in getting young people into politics. So even just bringing about the conversation of the caucus and
yes,
that's a good starting point, I feel.
Yeah. And in fact, Mr. Hugh, as he shared, and hopefully I didn't misunderstand, they had a consultant and they said, hey, a lot of your country people really don't understand the political process, right? Yeah, but what are we going to do? But you know what? As a party, we're going to do something. Now, as a result of him recognizing the role I play as facilitating, hosting these shows, I'm going to take license, not liberty, but some latitude, and decide going forward, we're going to get more political in terms of comments, questions, and inviting people. No, there's going to be a fallout. Mark my words. Oh, that way you did that. Look at what you about. But that's fine. Because if we don't have, as I would say, not know when, if not me, who, people were standing in the gap, right? And because of Mr. Hughes' sort of almost, invitation, right? But certainly encouragement, when he said, well, we're going to have, a youth caucus, I thought, well, the district councils. In that, we can get more participation, political participation, from a wider cross-section of the community that could potentially be, good educational grounds and places for people to get more political involved that may result in more candidates or more participation, right?
Yeah.
And like with our youth parliament, he said, okay, we use the youth caucus. Another good tool, but we already have an established machinery in the form of the youth parliament. So if it was me, I would, hey, let's use the youth parliament and encourage it in the schools, but ensure that the Caymanian children, very, very different from what I've seen in a number of instances in recent times. There's been some corrections, but a lot of the children participating in our youth parliament were not Caymanians, right?
Yeah.
They not only were not Caymanians, they were children who were only recently in the country by their own admission. Now, that's not to discredit them and their interest in participation, and it's not. And if anybody finds this offensive, certainly give me a shout. My apologies and for being offensive. A refusal to apologize, right? It's not sufficient that you say, oh, well, that's what the teachers recommended. That's what the teachers suggested. That's what the teachers sent.
Yeah.
Where are we in encouraging? I would never have ever intended to host a talk show, to be on radio, to be on TV. I have no desire for that sort of public appeal. But here I am. Right? So somebody has to nurture and encourage.
Yeah. And I feel like it also boils down to a bit of accountability on the part of our government, because this is something that our young people should be taking more interest in. So perhaps it's that we need to put more attention on the fact that there's not enough young people in politics.
If I might, as we take this call, share something that I've been increasingly hearing. I won't ask you to respond now, but I certainly won't deny you if you wish, because your intellect is very obvious, right? But as we take this call, I'm gathering that in this country, employers, not just within the public service, but private sector employers, are also openly, directly discouraging their employees from participating. That is not democracy.
It isn't.
So we can talk about that at some point, but let's take this call.
Let's take the call.
Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hello.
Good morning, Dwayne, and good morning to the intern in the studio.
Yes, sir. Miss Kayjah Warren. Yes, sir. Welcome, Honorable. How are you?
I'm very well. I just got through listening to the Honorable Leader of our designate Leader of Opposition, the Honorable Joseph Pugh. I was quite pleased with his conversation today. I must admit that he's 100% right. We are all obligated, particularly those who are elected, to educate and inform the country on how it all works. Because sometimes people take advantage of the lack of understanding of how it works to place criticism and blame and so forth. And the more the people understand, they'll understand why decisions are made and not fall for a trap of misinformation. So I'm really pleased about that. And you will see that many times I call in, I try to call in to educate as well or inform about particular processes. And on Friday, when I come in, I would like to expand further on what Mr. Hugh had said this morning. I'm really pleased. I was actually quite happy that there's a level of maturity and respect that we have for each other, where he spoke about the fact that, you know, I was once a member of the Progressives, and yes, I learned a lot of my skill sets I have today through the Progressive arm, and I'm indebted to them forever for giving me the first opportunity when many others didn't believe in me. So I appreciate that. And I hope that we can continue the conversation, because it needs to go further than the comments made. So there's some discrepancies in respect to independents and parties and how it really works, because we didn't speak about ideologies at all. And because what keeps a party together or a group is the ideology and the foundation of your principles of your governing model. You hear about Democrats, you hear about Republicans, you hear about conservatives, you hear about Lib Dems and so forth across the world. But or you hear about Labour. Now, they are founded or are embodied with principles surrounding a particular struggle. Labour is obviously for the working class man. That's where the concept of labour, meaning work, comes from. And they, focus on minimum wage, struggles in the workforce and stuff like that, and the body of their principles. Conservatives are more, faith-based, about Christian religion, culture, and heritage, and keeping things a lot of the same, with a lot of principles on taxes for the rich, if I dare say. So you have different principles surrounding it. And we can talk about parties, we can talk about independence, but nobody talks about what bounds them together. Because the thing that that troubles me the most is when it's time for manifestos. It is fine that anybody, party or no party, can always come up with a document to say, this is what I will do for you. That's an easy task. What is the difficult task is selecting a person that you feel trustworthy enough to do what you think is the right thing to do from your standpoint, whether you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, Labour. Your ideology will support a decision that is not in the manifesto, because many things come up that is not in the manifesto, because a manifesto is an agreement between the person that is elected and the voter. I promise to do X, and they can hold you accountable to that. But the thing that comes up within the 4-year period that wasn't in the manifesto, how do you know what that person is going to do? How do you, what's going to give them the indication that, okay, I know they're going to act like this? And it's usually based on the ideology of the grouping or the individual. And because we don't talk about the ideologies or the positions of most people, you have people who are environmentalists, you have people who are pro-development, some people are anti-development, some people are strong on immigration policies, some people are strong on labor policies. What is the core foundation of the people that you elect? And until we start talking about that, it's going to be the similar situation, regardless if it's party or not. It's just about what they agree to in a paper.
Right.
Now, anybody can go off to their community and say, what do you want me to do for you? They tell you, you pick the top things that they say is the problem. You say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, and we all will try to do that. What people are most concerned about is, what is the thing that came up that wasn't in the manifesto, and now I don't have the leverage of a vote over your head because you got 4 years in to say, make sure you do this. So it's a matter of trust and faith within the political arm. Now, I must say the attitude towards politicians and representatives in the Cayman Islands is not the greatest because of past behaviors and present behaviors even. But there has to be a level of trust and understanding of what your representatives will do for you, how they will act, how they will behave, how they will make their decision-making processes. And that's why I'm happy about referendum, because that's a direct way of something that wasn't in the manifesto that didn't come up that you can get them to answer to. So, anyway, I don't want to take over the show.
No. We're not going to let you, though. Friday morning, sir?
Yeah, Friday morning for sure. And I'm hoping that Intern is going to be there because I'm quite impressed with her.
Hold on. Are you bringing breakfast? Because, I mean, if you want to hear, we got to. I'm just kidding you, sir.
Do that.
God's willing. Listen, she is a strong intellect, and we want her to attend. So thank you for extending the invitation as well.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. God bless. Have a good day.
All right. Have a wonderful, safe day as well. As we close out, one of our listeners says to Ms. Kayjah, a beautiful statement in context that more can be done to invite or encourage Caymanians to become part of the political industry. Right? Was what this listener shares. Any final thoughts, Mom?
I like what Kenneth talked about the ideologies behind elected individuals. I feel like that is something that we definitely should also be taking account into when we're voting people into office. So that is something that we should definitely be considering in going forward. Yeah.
Well, Minister Brian shared that perspective in Ms. Kayjah lunchtime and then talk today. Hopefully you can join us. To our listeners, we have a discussion at the start with our good friends for NDC, in particular Mr. Ivan McLean. 1 o'clock, Miss Laura Purry, Miss Laura Iglishaw. Husband will forgive me. Boy, you still remember people's maiden name, huh? She'll join us. Hopefully others will come in. There's a proposal for dock and some dredging and different things going on that we're going to talk about. Environmental concerns, political implications as well. So that's the discussion for talk today.
Okay.
And when we come back, it's going to be great. Again, Friday morning, as the Honorable Minister just referenced, he will be our guest on For the Record. I'm going to be honored to facilitate once again, if nothing changes between now and then. Dr. Steve McField will be with us, Miss Kayjah, God's willing. So just the four of us, Friday morning on For the Record.
For the Record.
All right. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you shortly.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury,
and JN Money.
From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
We are Radio Cayman,
covering Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and Grand Cayman.